Well, hello, dear friends. Here we are, and welcome to the current year +2, or is it +3 now? Remind me, would you, please, dear current year man?
Yeah, and it's 2015 right now.
Right.
Ah, that's what I thought. It is the current year +3. That's right, dear friends, it's 2018, and that means, much like in 2017, 2016, and 2015, absolutely fucking everything is racist. Because of course it is. Last year we added the OK sign, milk, tiki torches, haircuts, the Gadsden and 13 Colonies flags, and probably the US flag itself, Old Glory, all of history and literature, and certainly gun ownership, self-defense, and police body cameras, and of course the police as an entire concept. Now, I could go on and on about just how many things became racist, or we found out were racist in 2017. That's again the current year -1 now. And sorry for all of the math coming out of the gate here, lads, this is not a highly academic video, so that'll be about the end of it. But wowee, we sure learned just how many things were racist last year, and I'm looking forward to 2018 so we can learn about just how many more things are racist this year. Today I want to focus on just a couple of the things that we learned are definitively racist in the current year -1. Specifically, gun ownership, self-defense, police body cameras, and, again, the police in general. Now, we've known the police have been racist for a while. I mean, that was sort of the point of BLM, right? That's why for years now, Black Lives Matter advocates have been asking for the police to leave their communities, and that has not had any kind of deleterious or negative effects upon those communities at all. No, not in the least. But since we know the police are all racist and therefore cannot be trusted to help black people, it's really quite a shame that there appears to be no other option for black people because everything is racist. Seems we're in a bit of a pickle. That's right, I must admit, in the current year we have learned by now that even things that would seem to be potentially quite beneficial to black communities in terms of helping themselves be safer in the United States, such as police body cameras, cameras in general, gun ownership for the purpose of self-defense, as is our Second Amendment rights as American citizens, all of that is problematic. Even though, like I said, body cameras and greater recording to increase police accountability and culpability were a major rallying cry of Black Lives Matter, yeah, remember, that's racist, fam. Just like gun ownership, which despite horrible instances like the case of Philando Castile, may allow black people to protect themselves against the obvious tyrannical police state that Black Lives Matter is so assured that we live in, right? Wrong. Gun ownership, yep, that too, is racist. What else is racist? Again, self-defense, particularly women's self-defense. I mean, I can't think of any reason that a black woman in an impoverished area with high rates of violent crime might want to learn to defend herself, particularly not when we look at the crime statistics of black-on-black crime and criminality and violence in inner cities, but of course, statistics are also racist. But all of these things that I bring up, these are all but small logs on the burning pyre of racism eternal that illuminates every aspect of our society with its vile, perpetually stoked flames. A newer addition to the bonfire, at least in this particular aspect of safety and crime, however, is the topic of racism in Bulletproof glass. And although were you to trust the absolute pure and unquestionable beacon of truth and honesty that is Snopes, who have never lied before and are always right,
I'd in any way want to put myself into a confrontatory position, either with the United Snakes or with them. And you can believe me, because I never lie, and I'm always right. So wake up and take a look at your only logical choice. Me.
Hillary Clinton.
Paid for by the
Hillary Clinton.
for Political Solutions Committee, Sector R.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise. You can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
well, then you would know that the recent legislation posted in Philadelphia that has seriously limited the use of bulletproof glass in stores that sell food and alcohol has absolutely nothing to do with claims that the use of said glass is in some way racist. But I'm about to astonish you, friends. I think, perhaps, Snopes, and I know this is a shock, Snopes is wrong. Today, I'm going to illuminate to you, my dear friends, just how racist bulletproof glass really is. But But first, let's take a look at the bill. Stop and Go, which passed 14-3 in Philly this past December. The bill proposed by Democrat Cindy Bass targets corner stores and convenience shops, which often categorize themselves as delis, yet don't serve traditional sort of sit-down food and meals as you would find in a more typical restaurant. Instead, serving and selling snacks, drinks, and beer with a thick layer of bulletproof glass between the cashier and the customer. That glass likely in place due to, oh well, let's just take a looky-loo here, should we, at some of those pesky crime statistics, shall we then? While I've not been able to find any specific crime statistics that link any individual crimes or crime rates in Philadelphia to race, we can look at some other troubling statistics. First of all, for all of the 10 cities in the United States that have over 1 million people in population, Philadelphia has the highest violent crime rate. Violent crime, of course, including homicide, forcible rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. These data from the Philadelphia police indicate that theft is a major problem in particular. While down 9% from 2016, there were 2,449 robberies by gun in Philadelphia in 2017, and 3,531 robberies without the use of a gun. So, it sounds like Philly's kind of a shithole, at least when it comes to violent crime, right? But what could that possibly have to do with race? Like I said, I can't find any specific statistics that have been gathered on this, at least not in the last couple of years. As such, we have to look at some analogs. First of all, we know at the national level from data collected by the Federal Bureau of Investigation that black people, and in particular, when we go into some of the detailed data, young black men are generally responsible for over 50% of the robberies in this country, despite African Americans representing about 13% of the population. That's as the United States in total. We can also look at examples from similar metropolitan areas on the East Coast to compare Philadelphia to. For example, in these data that were collected in 2015 on New York City, black people represented 23% of New York's population, but committed 75% of all shootings, 70% of robberies, and 66% of all violent crime. Data from 2016 reflect relatively similar findings. In contrast, also in New York, white people who represented 33% of the city's population committed less than 2% of all shootings, 4% of all robberies, and 5% of violent crime. What should be troubling to people so concerned about racism is that the preponderance of black-on-black crime is significantly higher than interracial crime in general, but particularly in Philadelphia. While a bit dated now, some information I was able to locate indicates that in 2011, 84% of homicide victims were black. Between 2007 and 2010, 79% of murder victims in Philadelphia were black. And we're talking about Philadelphia, which is a city that's about 44% African American. And while again those data are a bit dated, at least these I was able to find from 2015 show a 12% increase in homicide rates in Philadelphia between 2014 and the 2015 year. Further, it looks like homicide rates may actually have increased up to 20% between 2016 and 2017. In other words, it's not a really safe place to be black, Philly. Thus, while again I cannot speak to any specific statistics involving race and violent crime in Philadelphia, at least in the current year, I think we can draw some general conclusions based on national data and similar data from cities such as New York, as well as what we know about violent crime in terms of homicide in Philadelphia, who is affected by it, and who is probably more likely to commit it, to say nothing of some other types of crimes.
Let me tell you a little story.
Oh, no.
Now this is a story all about this young boy that lived in Philly, right? And he was the prettiest little boy that you ever seen in your life. And right next to him lived this filthy McRotten dude. And he wanted his body, right? So one day the dude was about to get it on, right? The young boy said, no, you can be my boyfriend. So the nasty dude snatched off into his ass and came out his dick. And do you know why? No. Because the nasty dude had a two-headed cock.
Now, again, that's an average and that's just speculation. But if I were a betting woman, I would place my money that the majority, or at least a large portion, of the violent crime when it comes to robberies being committed in inner-city Philadelphia is most likely being committed by young black males, as we see representative in other parts of the country and in other cities in the United States. So again, just on average, not a determinant, not in any way more than just a general trend, I would guess that it's far more likely for one of these little corner stores with their bulletproof glass to be robbed by a young black man than, well, I don't know, a 60-year-old Chinese woman. And that's kind of important because at least when it came to this stop-and-go bill, a lot of the people who showed up to protest it were Asian people, either immigrants or American citizens. You know, the owners of these stores. Regular, upstanding citizens who just want a little bit of protection against the preponderance of criminality in these areas, and it's pretty obvious to see from these crime maps that there is a hell of a lot of violent crime in Philadelphia, outside of the numbers that I just cited for you. Gee, it really percolates my peanuts. I can't imagine why these store owners would be so concerned about being robbed when we have so much violent crime in the city, when it is #1 in violent crime in the country. Can't imagine why they would want some bulletproof glass between themselves and their customers, huh? Yeah, can't figure that one out at all. Therefore, I have to ask then, why would Councilwoman Bass suggest such a legislation? Why would she want this? According to the shop owners, not only are they fearful for their own safety, again, can't imagine why, they are now saying they may have to resort to purchasing firearms in self-defense. I mean, are you asking for rooftop Koreans? And while we know that guns and self-defense in general are both racist, remember that Snopes told us this particular legislation had nothing to do with racism, none whatsoever. Let's just ignore the statistics. Despite being a commonly held perception by several Philadelphia citizens, seemingly baffled by the bill's existence. Bass, when she spoke to Fox 29, said that there was a sort of indignity in serving food through bulletproof glass. Right now, she said, the plexiglass has to come down. But that doesn't appear to be her only rationale for this bill, not just that it's somehow an affront to the customer to have their sandwich sold to them through a piece of plexiglass. No, she's had other reasons as well. The other sort of official reason behind it that Bass gives is because these shops, they sell, well, cough syrup, which can be used to make DXM, and thereby are essentially dens of villainy and degeneracy. The real way to solve any drug problems in inner-city Philadelphia is, of course, to prevent these Asian store owners from selling aspirin. That'll show them. If only we can get rid of these stores selling Tylenol and, quote, crack pipes, according to Bass, we can fix these communities.
30-year-old Min Kim told Q13 News he thought he would be killed when he claims a man trying to steal cigarettes pushed him to the ground and tried to steal his gun.
I pulled my gun out and I shot him a couple times, yes.
But Pierce County Sheriff's deputies say store surveillance video captured a much different scenario between the clerk and the victim, 21-year-old Jaquil Mason, as he tried getting away.
The struggle that we see on the video is the store clerk punching the suspect. And then when the suspect goes to leave the store, we have video of the store clerk firing rounds at him.
Yes, by placing the lives of these shop owners and their employees in jeopardy, by no longer allowing them to cower in fear behind their totally not racist glass, just ignore those crime statistics, just ignore those altogether, they will be forced to change their business models, and miraculously, through the change of that model, they will ameliorate all of the problems of drug addiction and sale in inner-city Philadelphia. Bravo. Excellent work. That sounds like that's going to turn out swimmingly. I can't think of a possible better way to fix inner-city drug problems than by having corner stores nix tussin from their available wares.
The tussin', the delicate was nothing. Robocop couldn't stop me from puking and flushing. No balls to be bustin', no fighting, no cussing. This love for a drug called Robo-tussin'. The tussin', the delicate was nothing. Robocop couldn't stop me from puking and flushing. No balls to be bustin', no fighting, no cussing. This love for a drug called Robo-tussin'.
Through the ingenious method of endangering the lives of corner store owners peddling their insidious sody pops and crisps. Now, I should point out that the original version of the bill really only made this a necessary change for businesses that had 30 or more seats. However, it then grew to apparently encapsulate any businesses that run this sort of stop-and-go style deli restaurant service or deli food service. Any place where you can buy soda and chips, in other words. And well, again, despite significant public outcry, both City Council and, more importantly, Snopes insist that there is absolutely no racial component to this legislation. No reason for which one might want to make it a little bit easier for criminals to rob these little stores and abscond before the popo can arrive. No, none at all. Again, just ignore some of those general crime statistics. However, I came across this video the other day, and it has thoroughly convinced me that regardless of the intent of the bill, and as we know, Snope Switch is infallible, so of course the race aspect was not at all a factor in the initial thought process behind this legislation, I have come to understand that bulletproof glass is in fact quite racist. Let's examine the evidence. Here we can see this upstanding young gentleman enters what appears to be some sort of cell phone or electronics store, complete with not only bulletproof glass, racist, in its storefront, but also bars, which, given the also racist and evil American criminal justice system that is completely 100% singularly unfair only to African Americans who have totally never committed any crimes or misdeeds and are, as such, definitely racist, we can already tell that this store is extremely problematic and oppressive. So this young man, he is clearly there to seek the reparations that he is duly owed by Whitey. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Godzi, huh?
Hooroo. Do you owe reparations?
Absolutely.
Why you say that? Wait, who is you?
Beryl Shepley.
Uhuru Beryl. Now, you owe me some money. Okay, you owe me reparations.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Because every freedom that I have and have taken for granted for my entire life has been made possible by wealth that my ancestors stole.
And here we can see Whitey quickly leaves, as she very well should. However, here we can see how even the white man, or in this case, the white woman, continually cannot, by her own devil-like nature, help but keep the black man down once again by locking the store door behind her, trapping him inside. Now, obviously, and I think anyone who truly understands the nuance of what's happening in this clip can understand that this right here, this is the true crime being perpetrated. This white hoe has illegally kidnapped and detained this innocent man who was merely seeking what he is owed. And in order to escape this unethical and illegal incarceration, our young hero has no choice but to unload his firearm at the door in a desperate attempt to free himself.
This is what you gotta do, Kevin. Load the gun up, Kevin. Load the gun up, Kevin. Fucking cock it back, Kevin. Unload on these niggas, Kevin. Unload! Unload on them niggas! That nigga too! This nigga! Give it to that nigga!
And this, dear friends, this is what I was talking about. This is irrefutable evidence of the true racist nature of bulletproof glass. Although it is difficult for me to say, it seems for the first time ever, Snopes may actually be incorrect. Astounding, I know. But here we have proof of the racist nature of bulletproof glass. To add insult to injury, examine our poor innocent protagonist, beg his vile captors for forgiveness, only to be unlawfully arrested by the police.
Please, I have nothing, please, I have nothing, please, I'm sorry, please, help, please.
Truly a modern tragedy on the level and gravitas of Hamlet. To thieve or not to thieve. But this young man merely trying to get by and obtain his well-deserved gibs, despite, being on probation for armed robbery, a charge for which he was given 12 years. And served less than 2. Now sentenced to another 5, I'm sure all 5 of which he will serve once again, is not the sole or only example of the oppressive nature of these types of barriers. Here we can see several young men also being denied their due property and reparations by this repugnant reinforced glass, thus indicating a pattern of racist, oppressive usage of this technology. Thus, with this ever-mounting evidence, I have no choice but to conclude that regardless of the intent of the bill passed in Philly, yes, bulletproof glass, plexiglass, and reinforced glass are all indeed, without question, racist. So, add those all to the list of things that are now certifiably racist as as of January 2018. Welcome to the current year. This topic is of particular interest to me given that I am planning to move to the Philadelphia area in the near future and have spent a good portion of my weekends there in the current year -1. And I certainly would not want to move to a city with racist laws that allow Asian corner store owners to utilize a method of self-protection that might make robbery, the redistribution of wealth more difficult for these downtrodden individuals.
Now you listen here, Pip Pip, a racist mind is a racist kind. Now you take that to sleep with you tonight, because I know I'm not going to change hearts and minds in a day. You don't give a man a peanut, expect him to have a farm the next day. But it's all right. It's all right. One day, we will all be equal on this earth. Until then, I'm going to give you a kiss, Muffin.
And speaking of corner stores that sell sody pops and chips, this is also why I am extremely supportive of the additional local legislation that recently essentially doubled the cost of soft drinks and juice in the city. A bill which was clearly put in place not to dictate what people can and can't do with their own bodies, but rather clearly specifically designed and intentionally put in place to keep out that supreme lord of all racists, the soda-chugging Donald Trump. That's right, the outrageous cost of Diet Coke will sure teach him to stay the fuck out of the city of brotherly love, huh? That's the only reason that soda pop is this expensive. That's it. To keep out Donald Trump. That's all it is, and not in any way some thinly veiled attempt at social engineering or anything. Nope, not at all. Just like how bulletproof glass is totally racist. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. I'm Aiden Paladin, all Tonavolt.
Throw your hands in the air, the covered in smear. To the rabbits and the bunnies, gonna cut off their money. You got a gun up in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Why? Cause I see some lefties tonight, they looking like they got rabies. Rabies. Check it out. Woods Mafia. Represent baby on top of Biggie Smalls. Egalitarianism is a revolt against nature. Murray Rothbard, the brother rock hard, yeah.